How's it going? Welcome back to the Manufacturing Come Up. I'm Malachi Greb, your host, and today we have a special guest, Joni Cunningham, who is sales and marketing at Creston, as well as one of the people putting on AME, Advanced Manufacturing Expo.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you on. Absolutely.
So I'm just going to let you know that this is what I was about. The reason I don't do videos is because I'm super awkward most of the time. So I'll try not to be.
I'm sure I won't make it any easier on you.
Oh, great.
I'm definitely a very introverted person. So when moments get awkward, I just make them more awkward.
Okay, me too. Well, you're in good company, so let's do it.
Let's go. Yeah, so definitely excited to have you on. One, you're in a sales and marketing role, so like those are always fascinating positions to me because, well, I'm pretty good at marketing. The sales part, like I could definitely use some more experience. So I think that like anybody looking to get into a sales position can learn some things from you. And also the other really cool thing is the fact that you're helping put on AME, which is like a whole realm of like I don't have a lot of experience with, and I think it's a cool like if we can dive into that one a little bit of like behind the scenes of like what it entails to put on a show like that and whatnot. So if you would kind of give us a brief description of where you're at currently and what you have going on, and then we'll take a dive back into your career and see how you got to where you're at.
Well, so my main focus here at Creston really is AME. And, this is a wonderful opportunity to shine a light on this platform is that in the 2 years, of course, when I first got here, it was COVID. Right.
Yeah.
So we didn't have the opportunity, but AME, I think this is the 8th or 9th year, and then they've grown exponentially 20 to 30% year over year.
Nice.
So, there's a lot more people coming and understanding the importance of these types of local shows, and I am not the only one and I can't take all the credit. I do have to say that my counterpart, Joe Teague at Industrial Control, really puts in a lot of work and a lot of effort as far as AME is concerned. Where I really kind of bring in is a little new meat, like a new way of kind of looking at things. And that's what last year was about. Like, I really want women to understand the opportunities that are available and the wide range of opportunities that are available in this field. And AME is a avenue to be able to shine a light on those types of opportunities for these women, right? And having Lauren there and Haley there and, all these wonderful women that came to support us and shining a light on this industry at this time, right? It's great.
Absolutely. I kind of want to bring this up because like you just made me think of this, and I don't ever really hear people talk about this much, but actually a small reason why even some men do not want to get into the industry is because there's no women. I mean, in reality, some people think about this as like, we're going to the workspace and like, some people find their wives and their life partners through workspaces. And pretty much when you go into manufacturing, I mean, you just significantly reduced your pool of potential, interaction.
Well, let me speak to that for just a quick second. So for a hot second, I did outside sales here at Creston, and this is kind of like a unique niche. We're selling tools. Yeah. They're not sexy and nobody cares, right? Everybody's got a round tool or a tap or whatever the case may be, right? And there's so much to learn about it. I would go into these shops and literally everybody will look at me like, what are you doing here? like, what just happened? Like they saw a ghost, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. There's such a lack of women in this field. And I think it's a twofold issue, right? Like for me growing up, Manufacturing, that wasn't even an option. I never even heard about it, right? It
Mhm.
was either you're going to work on the slope or help animals, because I grew up in Alaska. It wasn't an opportunity. It wasn't until I moved to Michigan that I even knew it was a thing,
Mhm.
but we sell tools. So I don't really get to see all of it. And that's why AME was such a great experience for me, is that I recognize that tools weren't the only thing that go into manufacturing, and that manufacturing
Mhm.
is in everything. Everything.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that you know, a lot of people don't get the exposure early enough. Like I'm becoming like a huge proponent of like events and like people attending events, people being on LinkedIn. And like these probably those two things are probably the two biggest things that I think people need at an earlier stage in life so that they can kind of experience and like witness more of a full perspective of what's going on in a particular industry or career path.
I would absolutely agree. And even though, I mean, so even 2 years ago, so LinkedIn 2 years ago is not what it is now. Is that in the last year, it has become such an excellent tool for manufacturing specifically, and what's available and the people that are talking about it. But let's say LinkedIn wasn't there. Where are you
Hmm.
going to go?
Yep.
Where are you going to go? So I would have to agree with you for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like at that point, then you're events only, or like maybe a Facebook group.
Correct, but then you have to go and seek that out. I mean, LinkedIn
Yeah.
really, it's kind of, if you have your settings that you're in manufacturing, that's what you're going to see,
Yeah.
right? And on Facebook, you would definitely have to go seek it
Yeah.
instead of just being in your face like, "Ooh, what's that? Ooh,
Yeah.
nice Akuma. Ooh, tools," right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's 100% where the exposure's at.
Yeah.
What? How long have you been on LinkedIn?
Since I started working here at Creston,
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of social media, and I really don't use it much outside of work. So it's been, once again, a learning process for me there as well.
Mm.
But really, just what I've kind of learned is just be yourself, right? Be yourself, be open, be vulnerable, be cheesy, be what everybody would want to be around.
Yeah.
And if you're not yourself, it comes across. I really think in people's posts that if you're not genuine or if you're phony, then people are like, whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. One thing I noticed with myself that I struggle with is like on the business side of things. I try to keep things almost too serious, and like I think what's going to end up happening is like 10 years from now, I'm going to be like, man, I wish I was just relaxed a little bit more. Yeah,
True, true.
awesome. So what is this new AME year looking like?
So, well, you're going to be there. So, just to let everybody know, and all the people that are watching you now, that you're going to be there in speaking engagement. We have yet to choose a topic, but we're going to discuss it. We haven't really started rolling it out yet, and that won't happen after the first of the year. So I don't really have any details about what's coming. I
Sure.
have things that I'm thinking about that I would like to see. But I'm not the only one that controls what decisions are made.
Right.
So, I have to run the things that I'd like to see
Yeah,
around the block a little bit to see if everybody else is on board.
absolutely. Where are they doing AME at the same location?
Yes, it'll be at DeVos Place, which is such a great location in the way that we're able to spread out. And I
Mhm.
know that some people this year thought that it wasn't well attended because there were 15-foot aisles, but that was purposeful to give people a little bit more room and a nice flow. But it did kind of make it feel a little emptier because it was so wide.
Right. So that was is Grand Rapids, right?
Correct. Grand
Grand
Rapids,
Rapids.
Michigan at DeVos Place. It's a beautiful venue.
Absolutely. What is actually one of the cool things about you guys' event that I didn't really see anywhere else was like I like seeing like the wrap vehicles in there. I thought that was a pretty cool
So
concept.
this year, especially in the metalworking hall, we're hoping to get some of our partners that have like vans that have you can walk through and use their product in their
Yeah.
vans versus it just sitting on the table. Even though this year we did have a lot of interactive booths, which was fantastic. And I really think that the interactiveness draws people in to make them want to learn more about what's actually happening there. I mean, who cares? You're going to walk by 15 taps on one table and then 30 million other of them. How is it used? Show
Yeah.
me. Show me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's one that like always blows me away. Like you'll have like a PLC provider, right? And it's like it's basically whenever it's not doing anything, it's a plastic brick,
Right.
And so it's like, okay, cool. Like there's so many cool things that you could do with that piece of equipment, and to not demonstrate something with it is kind of really a waste.
Yeah. And I think the demonstrations too, like will draw kids. Like we had the highest amount of kids and women ever this
Oh
past
wow.
year. And they to see the kids watch the sparks fly and then when they got the chunk of metal that they just watched being cut and the fascination in their faces now is when you spark the passion. It's
Yeah.
not when they're in high school, it's now when their minds are in this spot of wow
Yeah.
versus whatever, that wasn't that cool. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. In high school, they're like, oh, my girlfriend just texted me.
Yeah. For sure. There are much more important things at that stage of life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's take a minute and kind of dive back into your past and what was kind of your career path and how did you navigate to where you are today?
Well, I always thought that I was going to be in the medical profession.
Hmm.
Growing up in Alaska, my grandfather was a doctor there in a very small town. And I don't know if you've ever seen Northern Exposure, but people would literally barter like pelts and moose
Hmm.
meat for services. But I grew up helping in his office, and I really thought that that's what I was going to be. And in high school, I did diversified health occupations, and I always worked in nursing homes and I helped in hospitals. And, after I graduated and then I went into the medical field. I worked in hematology and oncology, and that was really an emotionally devastating experience for me because I wasn't able to separate. So at that time, I kind of understood that as much as I love it and have the passion for it, emotionally I couldn't handle it. I can't handle being around sick people. I just or animals, I just couldn't do it. So then
Hmm.
I kind of moved in a different direction. And then I went into liquor sales and I was a liquor promo girl, and it was fun. It's nothing like a party in your 20s, right? It was awesome. And you get paid lots of money to go out and party. It was fun. But, I had a son. I didn't want to be in an environment that I was sexualized in that way because that's
Yeah.
what it is. Let's face
Yeah.
it, is that I wanted my son and everybody else to see that I had a little more value than just, hey, you want a shot? Right? We
Yeah.
need to move past that. And then I kind of grew out of that, and then I went into IT. So I was executive support for many years, and then I started inside sales. So I was inside sales for Microsoft and T-Mobile, and this is very high level. So this is kind of my path for sales in general, is that I understood what needed to happen in and around sales. I'm not the one
Mhm.
that's selling, but I'm the one that's making the sales happen, right? So,
Gotcha.
it gave me discipline, dedication, hard work. Not that everything before that hadn't, but really my time on inside sales really kind of locked it down on
Yeah.
what needs to happen and where customer service really is the most important thing. Like if somebody sends me an email, I'm going to respond. I'm not going to make them sit and wait whether or not I got their email or if I'm working on it, because I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me. Right. And that's how
Right.
you do business.
Yeah.
So, which has led me here. I moved here from Seattle, and I spent a year working at the gym, which I wouldn't call work because I would do it for free, right? Because I loved it so much, which led me to this position because nobody wanted to touch me after staying home for 5 years with my children. They're like, we're going to pay you $12 an hour for your 25 years worth of experience. And I was like, I'm not doing that. However, Creston came along and they took a chance on me in a position that I had no experience. But what I did have is my experience with people and customer service. So they believed in me enough to think that I could grow into the role. And that's what's brought me here. They really supported me. It's a wonderful company to work for, and they care about the people. I mean, even through Creston, they did not get rid of anybody. They even kept me on, and I had only been hired 2 weeks before the close down, and they kept me on the entire time. And I've never had a company be so giving and generous
Yeah.
and believe in the people that they have hired. So, I feel truly blessed to have had this opportunity and to have found my home in manufacturing through a chance that they took on me.
Yeah, absolutely. That is super awesome. And especially the fact of like going through COVID, being a new employee, like absolutely.
Yeah.
Going through your sales process. I mean, it seems like really you had like some version of sales like throughout the majority of your career.
Yeah.
And
It
it's
was
kind of
never direct sales, though. It was never direct sales. It was kind of
okay.
behind the scenes, right? And helping others to achieve the sales. And that's really just through customer service and awareness and appreciation for other people and treating others how I would expect to be treated. And those little things go a long way. And those are the things that why people want to work with you, right? Is that do what you say you're going to do, follow through, even if it's a quick email. Hey, I don't know, but I'm going to find you the answer, right? And then just keep them updated all along the way. And as far as like sales is concerned, a lot of times the outside guys don't have that time, right?
Yep.
Which makes it more valuable. Hey, we're working on it. Hey, I can do this for you. Hey, I'm here, right?
Yeah. And like you mentioned like responsiveness and like that's such a huge deal. Like it's probably one of the highest compliments that we get from our customers is that you guys are the fastest responding vendor that we have. And so like that's really cool. We like to take pride on that, and we just think like it's like adding value back to the individuals. Like what's the point in waiting so long to send out an email, or like you said, even if you don't know the answer to it, like at least just like keep them in the loop, right? That's like I think the big part of that is like, right, are we part of the same team, or are we like a separate entity from you guys, right? And I
Correct.
think the more you create that, like we are one and the same, and we're partners in this, that like it really kind of it kind of takes away the customer vendor relationship, and it just becomes a relationship.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
What are some of the things that you've seen that have kind of like helped you in your career and with um, individuals taking like a liking to you?
So I'm going to call out a couple that,
Sure.
so Eddie Saunders Jr.
Yep.
So when I first got here and it's COVID and I'm watching all these videos, right? Like I couldn't take another video. And he did a video with Flex.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, right? That was super interesting. I enjoyed myself. I laughed. I learned something. And over the whole year, that was the only one that I ever took anything away from because
Mm,
of his energy. So
yep.
I gravitated and I kind of watched him and what he was doing and mimicked him ish. right? Nobody can ever be Eddie, but right, I appreciated what he was doing, and I'm like, I wish there was more people doing this, being themselves, being
Yeah.
funny and charismatic and open and
Hmm.
vulnerable and all of those things that we all want to be. But he was doing it so well. I was like, if I'm attracted to this, I know others are too. So I
Yeah.
was seeking people that had that something
Energy. Yeah.
special,
Yeah.
right? And then, same thing with my relationship with Motor City Spindle and Lauren Liddell is that, I really liked having the opportunity to sit and speak with her about her experiences and what she felt that she's done right and wrong and how to change it. And even as all these other people that I'm meeting, Emily with Marketing Metal and Hallie, and listening to their experiences, it's been super helpful for me to learn and grow and listen and take their advice on things that I should be doing or I could be doing to improve what I'm already doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I like the thing you said about Eddie, like, and just like his ability to go outside of the box and do things in a different way, I think are extremely important, and it can have like much more impact than anybody could imagine. Um, I think also like one thing that would definitely help out with individuals if they're concerned on like a professional image, that one thing to do is to like characterize things, right? So like that's one thing I think if you look at like Eddie's content, like they'll do like characters, right? Where like they're not really being themselves, they're being a character of something, right? And
Sure.
so that creates enough like separation to so like whenever you see that person in real life, it's like, okay, they're still a professional individual.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like the biggest concern, like, for like if people like seeing like me off a camera versus me on camera, it's probably definitely completely two different individuals.
Yeah.
Um, I'm definitely very serious about business, and I try to be as professional as possible in front of the camera, but like off of camera, especially like whenever it's like a more relaxed time, like I pretty much don't like stop joking around about stuff and like you know and just kind of take things very unseriously, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm getting at is like the concern with that is like the reason why on camera is because of looking unprofessional, and it's like I think about um, Steve, the uh, engineering manager or program manager of General Motors, worrying about seeing like a video that then, oh, I don't want to do business
Yeah.
with them. They did that one silly video about this thing or whatever, right? I think that's why there's a big limitation. I think that there's people are concerned about the repercussions of it.
Well, I mean, so honestly, I feel that if you're really worried about that, you probably shouldn't be doing videos. I mean, if that's really a concern, then you
Yeah.
shouldn't be, right? Is that I do believe that if you're warm and open and genuine in whatever it is that you're doing, regardless of whether it's a podcast, regardless of whether it's in person, it's going to come across, right? And even if you joke and you have a good time, you can still do that in a professional way that you connect with the people that you're talking to. And that really is the most important piece, is that the connection that you make with those around you are the ones that are going to bring long-term sustainable relationships,
Mhm.
profitable relationships that build trust for the long term. And that's what we're really talking about in business.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the things that you think that kind of help like fortify that relationship?
With people
Just
in general,
yeah, yeah.
is that
I think it's very natural for you, so I think this might be like a harder one for you to
it
explain.
actually to be really honest, is that it hasn't been.
Really?
this has been new to me. I have gone through a tremendous change in the last 2 years of my life, due to, due to divorce, is
Okay.
that it really made me take a look and reflect on all of the things that I had done wrong, to take responsibility for how I've hurt others, for things that I may have said unintentionally. It really kind of sent me on this journey
Mm,
of healing and growth. And what this journey has brought me is the ability to be open and vulnerable with everybody without the fear of judgment and being hurt, because I always feared what everybody else thought. And
mm,
I carried that with me, so I kind of closed off a little. And now I'm old enough not to care. And two, is that that's not going to bring a real relationship. Is
yeah.
that, the only way to success, I feel, is through vulnerability. And I feel that when people talk to me, they know that I'm listening, that I care, genuinely care. So
Mhm.
people open up and tell me their story, and that's the favorite part of my job. I love to hear people's stories, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. We've all lived it, right? We've all done
Yeah.
stuff we wish we hadn't done. We all did stuff that we could have done better. Whatever the case may be, we are all flawed. We are all broken, but it's what we do with those lessons that brings us success and joy in the future if we choose the right path, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I find that like questions, like questioning people, like really trying to like understand who somebody is really helps out a lot with like the relationship with like dealing with introvertedness, I guess is like kind of one of the biggest things, right? Like
Yeah.
whenever you're in an awkward situation, like kind of just ask something about the person, right? Can generally kind of eliminate that awkwardness because people like to talk about themselves for the most part.
Yeah.
And so now you've opened that opportunity and took a direction of conversation that can kind of eliminate that feeling. And I think that sometimes some negative interactions come from maybe just two people being like introverted at in a moment in time, right? Whereas like they could have been like best friends, but instead they were like both so shy or just like, in a weird situation. Like, okay, yep, okay, see ya, gotta go.
Well, also too is that I think that this is lost. People have lost the ability to actually communicate with each other because of this, because of this, because they're sitting at their
Mm,
desk. So they have a hard time actually just even having a conversation, right? It's like,
yep,
hey, I have never met you. I should have a million questions I could ask you. But most people, I think, are afraid to ask the questions or to be vulnerable enough to ask or even listen, right? Most people don't
right.
want to listen, right? They
Mm,
just want to talk.
gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I never really thought about it like that. Because
Yeah.
like most of the time, like I definitely like listening to people a lot. I think that's a big reason why like I've been able to like get to where I'm at in my career because there's been a lot of times where I've just sat in meetings and like would just sit there and would analyze thing what people are saying, why this person's saying that, and just really listening and understanding like the dynamic of the conversation and uh, I don't know, I think I've always like really analyzed things very deeply in that way. Always been super fascinated with like human psychology. Interesting. What are some of the things that you see for your future?
Well, I do see my future here at Creston. I love it here. I love the people. I love the industry. I love our vendors. I just love it. But what I see as far as my platform for AME and doing things like this is that I'm hoping to be able to inspire others to take a risk, to believe in themselves, to do things maybe they didn't think was possible, to step outside of the box and go, Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I was like, you may just end up someplace that's the right place, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think there's so many individuals that don't do things within their life because of some fear, some limitation, it's like they say, limiting belief, right? I don't
Mhm.
think I can do this. And, sometimes just taking that leap and doing something is all it takes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as of right now with AME, kind of what is your position in that, and what is getting an event ready to go? What does that look like?
Well, the whole process really takes about 10 months for me.
Okay.
So, and for the whole AME team, is that I'm in charge of the metalworking hall because Creston is the sponsor for the metalworking hall. So I'm in charge of getting vendors there. I'm in charge of getting speakers there. I'm in charge of not necessarily what people bring, but I kind of guide them into this is what I'd like to see. This is what I think that others will respond to. What's
Mhm.
new? Like, when I asked you to speak, I want to hear from you what you think is important. And then if I'm like, ooh, yes, then that's the topic, right? Is that, I want to get people, especially in this industry, out of the box of we've always done it this way. We've always done it this way. Well,
Mhm.
if you can't change and adapt, you die. So it's time for this industry to change and adapt and think outside of the box and maybe do something a little bit different than it's always been before. And that's what's important about my involvement in AME is that I don't come from this area. I don't come from this field. So the way that I see things, especially as a woman, is different than the rest of the guys on the team. So,
Yeah.
we all have our unique qualities, but
Mhm.
I am an asset for those reasons because I'm not from here and I'm a woman and I'm not from this industry. So the things that I might find, you know,
Yeah.
exciting are things that maybe people, other women, other men, children, or whatever that aren't from this industry will also feel as exciting. And that's what we're
Yeah.
trying to do. We're trying to bring people that aren't necessarily from this industry into it to go, wow, all this stuff is here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that you pretty much said it with, you bring in that outside perspective, and the outside perspective, and coming from a different genre of the industry, versus like being a 60-year-old man in the industry, 50-year-old man in the industry, right? Like new young energy, and like the sight to see like what other people are interested in, right? Like that's like a big thing that I'm always looking at is like, okay, people want to see something different. They want to see something new. They want to see, the industry not operating in the same way that it's operated for so many years.
Yeah.
It's I don't really like to say this, but like we go into many many manufacturing facilities, and to help with automation processes, and there's a lot of companies that we see that are just like, you can tell, 50 years ago, somebody's grandfather like started the company, and that's basically been how it's been for the entirety of the time.
Yeah.
And one of my concerns is that like companies like that will end up not existing at some point because they don't bring like new innovative thoughts, and you know maybe not able to make the investment. And here's the big thing, I guess, that is actually a key valuable point is like, if you're making good money, if your company's very profitable, don't waste that time of profitability and not like reinvesting into like innovative things, because there may be a period of time where like your profit margins are extremely high, but maybe more companies start to come into that market. Like say for instance, automation profitability is fairly good, right? But if enough AI comes out, if enough system integrators start to pop up everywhere, and you know it's probably unlikely, but like it is likely. It could potentially happen that like our profitabilities go way down. So if
Yeah.
we're not constantly investing in like innovative technologies and in like the way we share data and the way we share data with our customers, like just like new innovative ways to like, you know, simplifying processes and making the whole experience better for everybody else. Um, you know, if we're not doing stuff like that, then you know the concern is like with you know, manufacturers um, that they don't survive. You know, and like I said, it's very very concerning for me because obviously I want to see everybody succeed, but
Yeah. Well, that's why I think that, companies should be have apprenticeships that pay well, right? Is that just like, I grew up working in the shop with my grandfather. One my great grandfather was a woodworker, and I used to think, wow, this is cool. And then I would watch my grandfather fix snow machines, and then my other grandfather built a monster truck in his garage.
oh
So
well,
I've been in and around it all my entire life. But what's missing now is that now we have both parents working outside of the home.
mm,
And then on the weekends, they're too busy doing grocery shop and helping with homework or whatever to pass these things on. And if we as an industry don't make the effort to pass these things on, they're gone. And they're gone forever. They're gone to automation. So all these people that, have this vast experience, like the guy that's seeing at the spindle, just because the manual says it works this way, he's got 40 years of experience saying do this, do this, do this. But if he doesn't pass it on to somebody, that knowledge is lost.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I kind of one thing that's definitely that's in my mind is like what the actual impact is going to be on industry as a whole due to that, right? Like how long do we not put emphasis towards that to a point of like is it 10 years from now like those people are gone and they're not coming back and now you have like basically a younger generation that doesn't doesn't really have the experience necessary to do maybe some complex thing, or they're having to learn the hard way because now they don't have that super experienced somebody to teach them. Um, yeah, so I definitely wonder like how long that'll be prolonged, and also what the impact is going to look like.
Well, the thing is I guess we'll find out because it's going to take an investment by the companies that are employing these people. Yes, of course, they want somebody that's doing it for 40 years. But what happens when that person is gone and then they can't find anybody? Like, IQ Manufacturing, where Hallie works. I mean, they're doing an excellent job of bringing up and employing the future of
Mm,
manufacturing. They're leading with patience, they're leading with guidance, they're leading with all sorts of wonderful things. And it's not just, I understand everybody's busyness, like the job has to get done, the job has to get done. But if we never stop and take the time to teach what's actually being done, we're all going to be out of a job in 20 years, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. What are some things that you kind of see within the industry that are some positive initiatives towards that?
Well, like I said with IQ, that's a first step, right? And that
Yep.
they're vocal about it, what they're doing. And Willis Machinery, we have a partnership with them, and they do a lot of work with their local colleges and, giving machines and stuff like that. So, it's going to take an investment of not just time and money for everybody who's involved in this industry, but for those that have the opportunities, the connections to be able to give back. And it doesn't have to be a huge financial, investment.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as your time, right? Is that, in the industry as whole, I really think that, we should get back to, instead of wood shop, it should be, a CNC machine in the 7th grade class, right?
Yeah.
We have to start younger.
Yeah.
right? And if I had been exposed to that, you betcha I'd be doing it right now too, because I took shop and I was like, this is cool. If there had been metal cutting, I'd been all about it. Right.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's long term. Like like at least one of my and I guess our dream goals is actually to have like a community where it's like an ecosystem that's partially funded by the company, or I mean, pretty much entirely funded by the company, but essentially where you have like, you have your company, you have your education, right? And the ideal situation would be like, is how does that education become accredited so that it's like approved by like the state boards and everything like that. So that way you can have this educational process that, it's outside of public education, and you can start learning these things at a super young age. Like, so one of the dynamics that I have for this is that, like, how can you have a child at, like, no matter how young the age, be somehow involved with whatever their parent is working on, right? If you could, like, maybe it's a 3D printed model of like this actual mechanical thing that they're making, or maybe it's just like some type of exposure or like videos or photos of like the things that they're working on today, like if they're doing like mechanical engineering, or if they're machining a certain part. Like, I think that dynamic is like beyond super cool, right? Like, I think that, like, we need to bring back children being more involved with their parents' workspace. So, like, you kind of mentioned, like, you had family members that were like building a monster truck in the garage.
Yeah.
Well, you got this exposure of seeing that, and now it's like our personal and our work lives are so segregated that there's almost too much of a barrier.
Well, you know what? Even with that exposure, there was no path for me to pursue that.
Yeah,
So, I mean, there was no path. There was no, I literally knew nothing more than what my grandfather had shown me. There was no path for me to pursue that in any way.
yeah,
Right. Here I'm in my late 40s, and now I'm just starting to see the path. Right? Where's it been
yeah,
all my life? There's not enough exposure. And I think part of that, a lot of it is because parents are busy and not able to be present in the way that our parents were able to be in the past.
yeah. 100% agree. That's kind of like one of my like biggest passions is like, how do you fix that, being able to bring families back closer together again.
Yeah.
It's huge. And also too, like, just going back to the, you know, education space mixed with the workspace. There's so many more companies that could be involved in either bringing whatever their equipment or technology or skill set is to the school, and also the programs of bringing that student to their facility or process office, whatever that may be.
Yeah. I mean, you also have to, the thing is that our school systems are broken, and there's a lot of mismanagement of the funds that are provided for them. And until these types of things get fixed, I can't see a lot of companies wanting to invest, in that, if their funds are just going to get lost or mismanaged or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
If you're going to give funds, you want it to go to what you're giving it to, and not
yeah,
like, oops, we lost $7 million, not sure where it went.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think 100%. Like, I don't think financial donation is like the best way to go about it. Like you said, like, just lose
Yeah.
$7 million. You
Yep.
know, I think it's a highly more integrated give back that's so much more important. Like,
Yeah.
even so, like that's same $7 million. You're better off hiring 12 people. We're gonna hire 12
Mhm.
people. They're gonna manage the division that handles our relationship with the school, the students,
Yes.
that whole entire process. I think that's, yeah. Absolutely.
I agree.
Awesome. So for this event coming up, what are some of the things that we can expect?
I'll be there. I mean, I'm sorry. Here's the awkward part. It's fine. We made it almost all the way through. Now it comes out. So I'm really haven't planned so much in advance as far as what to be expected. However,
Sure.
there will be new things. As far as what they are, I don't know yet. And I am sorry, that's the lamest answer ever, but
Sure.
that's literally where I'm at right now.
Okay. Let's put it like this then. If nobody's ever been to an AME, can you give a rundown of what they can expect to experience there?
Well, yes. Robots. You're going to see robots. You're going to see metal cutting. You're going to see, automation. I mean, it's a wide variety, mechanical. So you see a lot of like mechanical features and things that are there to see how things work, basically a slice through the center to see all the mechanical components. It kind of gets your mind clicking about, wow, this is manufacturing as well. Right. And then there was some really cool robots. Last year, there was this like red robot suit. It reminded me of Halo. And I was like, hey, what can I do to take this home? I mean, what kind of deal can we work out that I can have this life-size robot in my living room, right? So it'll be more of that, but it'll be the latest and greatest in the technology in each 3 of the fields, right? I mean, last year we did have on-site metal cutting and on-site polishing, metal polishing, and I'm hoping to, hopefully get some new vendors that will bring maybe some metal bending, right? Something different that we haven't had before that is still part of this industry and really important to manufacturing in general, because if you didn't bend the metal, how are you going to make airplanes, right? They don't come square, right? So I'm hoping by platforms like this that people will find me and be like, hey, I have this really cool thing that we want more people to know about. So if you're out there, I'm here, find me.
Yeah, I guess this is a good place to segue. Where can people find you?
Yeah, well, they can find me at Creston. They can email me at jonic@crestonindustrial.com. They can follow me on LinkedIn. They can follow me on Creston's page. But I'm around and I'm available and I will respond. So, I would love to hear people's ideas about the things that they feel are important. Is that really this show is about our customers. It's not about Creston. It's not about industrial control. It's not about motion. It's about what's happening in our field. What do our customers need?
Yeah.
What is the best possible option for the job that they have that they might not be able to come up with a solution for? We have so many experts in tooling and metalworking that are available for them. And that's why we want them to come. I was like, if you're lost, let us help you. I mean, even Creston, we have such an amazing team that are so knowledgeable, that have worked everywhere in manufacturing, from the spindle to selling Akumas to whatever the case may be. They've been in it for years. They're experts in their field. And I feel blessed to be around people with such a great knowledge of how things actually work and bring real solutions to our customers. And it's not about the money. It's about finding the right tool for the job, right?
Absolutely. And I think you guys have done a great job at hosting an event that has a good, well-versed conglomerate of different divisions of our industry.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Do you have any last valuable tips to add back to the community before we get out of here?
All I have to say is be yourself. People respond. So, and I do want to let you know that as awkward as you feel when I met you at IMTS, that you have a very warm and inviting presence. So just keep doing what you're doing and people will come to you. I've seen a huge growth in what you've been doing over the last year, and you guys are really on a roll. And thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words, and 101% thank you for being here and adding your valuable point of views.
You're welcome. We'll
Thank
do
you.
it again.
Again.
Have a great day. Thank you so much.